What's up, everybody? Hey, in today's video, I'm going to go over the 5 biggest mistakes to avoid when you're investing in real estate. Make sure that you watch this video to the very end, because if you can avoid these 5 mistakes when it comes to investing in real estate, you will be a millionaire. Trust me. And you'll also be able to build the confidence that is needed to continue to invest and pull the trigger when it comes to real estate. And the quicker that you can make a decision, pull the trigger, and invest in real estate, quicker you can make a whole lot of money. So make sure you watch this video to the very end. My name is CJ. I am the founder of Grandiose Capital. We are a private money / hard money brokerage where we get customers the money that they need when they need it in order to fund deals. So number one, we're going to get right into it. The number one most common mistake to avoid is not building relationships in the area that you want to invest in. Relationships are everything. The people that think that they can just get by and do everything by themselves, when it comes to investing and when it comes to real estate, that is the wrong mindset to have. That is the mindset that will keep you poor. There is only so much that you can do by yourself, but when it comes to this real estate investing space, trust me, if you do not have the right relationships, there is nothing that you can do. If you aren't networking with the right people, there is nothing that you can do in this space. Trust me, contrary to what you believe, right? And yes, you might have to have some people skills, but what I have learned when it comes to networking is just being upfront, being honest, being transparent, and being morally correct and being morally conscious. Just make sure that your moral compass is facing north, and you will have no problem building relationships, and you will have no problem keeping relationships. For example, in this space, you will have to have relationships with agents. You would have to have relationships with private money and hard money brokers, private money and hard money lenders, uh, construction, rehab, construction companies, title companies, and the list goes on and on. You might want to have a very good relationship with people that work for the city, people that know the city very well. The more relationships that you have in this real estate space, the more money that you will make. So one of the biggest mistakes that you want to avoid is not taking time to build relationships. And just to give you an example on how to build those relationships is when you're going to real estate events and when you're going to marketing events, don't try to fluff stuff up. Don't try to be something that you're not, right? If you're an investor, when you meet people, you say, hey, I'm new to this. I'm trying to become an investor, and I'm looking to gain as much knowledge as possible before I start pulling the trigger, or whatever your pitch is, right? But at the end of the day, just be direct, be straightforward, and be upfront and be honest, right? If you can do those things, you will build the right connections with the right people who are willing to help you make a whole lot of money. So that is number one. Relationships are everything in the real estate space. Your reputation is everything, right? Upfront, transparent, open with people, and trust me, the deal flow will come. And even if you're not trying to be a real estate investor and you're not ready for that yet, you want to be a wholesaler, just tell people, hey, I'm looking to be a wholesaler, I'm looking to work with investors, find deals for them. Tell me what your criteria is. I have no problem knocking on doors. I have no problem making phone calls. I have no problem with none of that. I'm just a young hustler. I'm willing to put in the work, and it is what it is. You're going to run into sellers. You're going to run into buyers. You're going to run into all kinds of stuff, right? But it'll be a lot easier, and it'll make your job a lot easier if you're just transparent, straightforward, direct, and to the point. And that's how you build real relationships, right? That's how you build solid relationships. That's how you build long lasting relationships. And that's how you make a lot of money in this real estate space, right? Because if you try to be too fluffy or you try to make your words sound too good, believe me, I ran into this mistake when I first started my company. I was trying to be too fluffy, or I wasn't as transparent as I should have been, and things like that. And I noticed that my business took off the more transparent, the more direct, the more upfront that I was with people, the better, the stronger relationships that I built, the better relationships that I built. And guess what? The more money. People love honesty. People are smart. People can tell if you're transparent. People can tell if you're telling the truth. People can tell if you're honest. People can tell if you're trying to, play them or trying to make something sound like it's better than it is. Just be upfront. Just be real. Just be honest, and just keep it real, and you'll make a ton of money in this space. But number one is build relationships with the right people. Number two, in this space, the one thing that you do not want to do, because it will actually be contrary to what you did here, is you don't want to count other people's pockets, right? Stay away from that, right? It is very low vibration energy, and it is something that you will burn a lot of bridges and you'll burn a lot of relationships by doing this. Always worrying about what somebody else is making on a deal or on the deal will hurt you in the long run. It might seem cute in the short term, but in the long run, it will cost you a ton of money. Do not count people's pockets, right? For example, if you're a real estate investor and you're working with the wholesaler and you look at the deal and you analyze the deal and the deal makes sense to you, it doesn't matter what the wholesaler is going to make on the deal. It has no effect on what you're going to make. If you find out that wholesaler is going to make 50K or 70K or 100K, that has nothing to do with you. At the end of the day, the numbers make sense to you for you to move forward and for you to want to take the risk and make the money that you're comfortable with. Don't count that wholesaler's pockets, because at the end of the day, that is a relationship that you can keep long term, because that wholesaler will start bringing you more deals because you do not count their pockets. And obviously the wholesaler is talented if they're putting deals in front of you that make sense in the first place, right? I'm not saying don't make stupid decisions. I'm saying watch your pockets. If you're comfortable making a certain amount on a deal in real estate, there should be no need for you to count somebody else's pockets. For example, I own a brokerage, right? I have access to a lot of funds. I have access to a lot of lenders. I have access to a lot of people who have money, right? I am somewhat of the middleman. I have the clients who need money. They come to me. And then I have the funds who provide the money, and they come to me as well. Some of my funds do not work directly with clients. They only work through me because I have a team. I have a team of processors. I have a team that is very efficient, and we get stuff done. Some of my funds will make exceptions for me that they will not make for anybody else, right? That's how my business runs, right? Some of the funds charge fees. Some funds charge lower fees. Some funds charge higher fees, right? I will never go to the fund that is lending my borrower the money and tell them to either drop or lower their fees, because I cannot get the borrower to understand what they're charging and how they're charging and why they're charging, right? My job is never to count nobody else's pockets in this business. These funds I have relationships with. We get deals done with borrowers. We get deals that are hard to get done with our borrowers. If I was to count the fees that the fund charges to my borrowers and get mad at them every single time, my relationship with that fund wouldn't even exist anymore. That is one thing that I have never done when I've jumped in this business. I've never counted somebody else's pockets, right? And I've never went to any of my borrowers and analyzed their deal and saw how much money they were making on the deal. And I never asked them for more money. Hey man, we got you the money for that deal. and I see that you're going to make 150,000 on this one deal. So, I think you should pay me even more. I've never done that in my life. I charge what I charge. My team charges what my team charges. We present those numbers to the borrower, and it is a take it or leave it situation. The borrowers that I do not like working with and that I will put on the blacklist are the borrowers that want to count everybody else's pockets. They want to, okay, well, the fees are this. How much are you making on the deal? First of all, I have no problem telling you what I make on the deal because I'm very transparent and open. But at the end of the day, why do you want to know? Why do you want to know what I'm making on the deal? Your only concern should be what you're making on the deal. But I'll tell you what I'm making, right? I'm making this much. We're very transparent. We give term sheets. We give you the full breakdown. We don't care, right? But at the end of the day, if you're going to call me and say, well, you making this much on the deal? Golly, can you lower your fee? Nope, not lowering none of my fees. Because my fees have nothing to do with you. My fees are for what I'm worth. Contrary to what you believe, what else do you want me to do? You want me to lower my fees and also lower my service? Is that what you want me to do? You want me to not answer your phone when you call me? You want me to put your file on the back burner? You want me to not give you the attention that you want? Do you want me to lower my service too? You know what I mean? Do you want me to not get you the funds? Right? Just waste everybody's time and, not getting the exceptions made for you in order to get you the funds and the time that you needed in order for you to close on time? Do you want all of that as well? So one mistake that I see borrowers and I see investors make a lot in this business is they want to count other people's pockets. They do it with agents too, right? How much you making on the deal? Why does it matter what the agent is making on the deal? What they're charging, that might matter if that affects your bottom line and what makes sense to you. But what they make has nothing to do with you. So one of the things that you do not want to do, one of the mistakes that you do want to avoid is you want to avoid the mistake of counting other people's pockets, especially in this business, right? This is a relationship business. These are lifelong relationships, right? If the numbers make sense to you and you're going to make good money on the deal, stick with the deal. If the numbers don't make sense to you for that particular deal, be honest, be upfront, be transparent, right? If you're working with me, hey, CJ, the way it's all structured, this deal doesn't make sense for me to go with you on this deal. And guess what? I lose no respect for you and I don't lose the relationship because you're going to need me again, right? Because I can make things happen. I can get deals done that the average Joe can't get done, right? Same thing when it comes to wholesalers. You're going to probably need that wholesaler again. That wholesaler can find deals that you can't find, right? You're going to need that real estate agent again. That real estate agent can get your deal sold for quickly enough and for the price that you want it because of the connections that they have, right? For example, counting people's pockets will hurt you in the will hurt you in the long term. For example, you got two real estate agents, right? One real estate agent charges 6%. One real estate agent charges 4%, right? You want to count people's pockets. You choose the agent that charges 4%. You find out that the agent that charges 4% can't get the price you want, can't close in time, can't get an offer in, doesn't have connections, can't, just can't get your house sold. But if you would have chose that agent who happened to be more expensive, but has a better reputation, has better network, has better clientele, and could have got your house sold quicker, faster, for more money, in the long term, in the short term, choosing the cheaper agent worked. But in the long term, it hurt you because now you burnt the bridge with this agent. So now for your future deals, trying to come back to that agent no longer cares for you and will no longer will give you the attention that you truly deserve because of how you operate. So this is a relationship business. Don't count other people's pockets. Count your pockets. And that is it. Please avoid that mistake. That is a huge mistake in this business. Don't count other people's pockets. Count your pockets. Because once you start counting what other people start making, then you start operating on low vibration. I don't count other people's pockets. That's not what I do. I count my pockets, right? If I'm comfortable making a certain amount on a deal, I will fund the deal or I'll get the deal funded. If I'm not, I will gladly walk away from that client and just be like, yeah, this deal's not worth it for me. It's just not. It's not worth my team's time. It's not worth my time. It's not worth my expertise. It's not worth me getting stuff done. It's not worth me getting exceptions made for this deal and making stuff happen. It's just not worth it, right? But if you can find a way to get to where I need to be, and you can find a way to get to where you need to be, well, then it's worth it for all of us, right? I'm not counting your pockets. I'm analyzing your deal. I'm submitting a deal, make sure it's a good deal. But I'm not saying, oh, you're going to make 80,000 on this deal. You should have no problem paying me. I'm not a pocket counter. And that's one of the reasons why I have very solid relationships in this business and why I continue to have solid relationships in this business, because this is a relationship type of business. Number 3, most common mistake is not being organized, right? That is a huge mistake for investors. Not having the right paperwork, not having the right documents, not having access to your documents, just being all over the place. At the end of the day, time is money, efficiency, speed, right? We lend money to borrowers all the time. We collect documents from borrowers. If borrowers were more organized, it will save them time, it will save them money, it will save them stress, it will save them headache, it will save them a lot, right? And I run into borrowers that I feel like if they ran their business like a business, because I run my business like a business. You know, if my accountant asks me for any of my documents, I can get the document to my accountant in record time because everything is organized. So one of the things when you're in this investment space and you're trying to be an investor, make sure you have your documents organized. Make sure you're keeping track of, the deals that you're completing. Your experience is important. Make sure that you have access to, your bank statements. Make sure that you have access to your entity documents. Make sure that you have access to everything that you will need when it comes to being able to pull the trigger on a property, because at the end of the day, when you're in this space, time is money, right? Time is money. The investor who is more organized and more on top of things will eat more often than the investor who is not. Organization is extremely important. So walking around here la-di-da-di-da, having your paperwork all over the place, folder stuff out, put folders in your computer. Make sure that you have stuff titled. Make sure that you have stuff organized. If you're organized, you're going to save a lot of time and you're going to save a lot of money, and you're going to build even stronger relationships with lenders, brokerages, brokers, things like that. And you're going to be able to get deals done quicker for cheaper because you're organized. If that makes any sense. You know what I mean? Because if you're not organized, it can cost you more money as well. Because you're not organized, people got to do more work to help you, and they may charge you more. You know what I mean? So it could cost you more money, and it can cost you a lot of time, and it can cost you deals by not being organized. So organization is extremely important. You know what I mean? That is one of the biggest mistakes that you want to avoid, is not being organized. Now we're going to go into number 4, and number 4 is very important. Number 4 is take the emotion out. Yes, there's some emotion involved when you're buying real estate. I get it, but you don't want to be overly emotional. For example, I have a borrower. He's trying to buy a house that he's in love with, right? He believes it's going to make him a lot of money. He believes that he's going to buy it, he's going to fix it up, and after he fixes it up, it's going to be worth $300,000. But we did our due diligence. We sent an appraiser out there. We look in the area. The comps are showing that it's probably going to only be 180 to 100,000 after it's fixed up, just because it's a bad location, right? If you're the borrower in that situation and the discrepancy is that big, the best thing to do is to try to dispute it, which that was the first thing that I suggested to this borrower. They tried to dispute it, but then they only pulled up comps in the 150 range, nowhere near 300. So the borrower still wants to get the deal done, and still wants to get the deal funded, and still wants to get the deal closed, even though The borrower now knows that those numbers aren't, that the house will not sell for that much after it's fixed up, or won't be able to refinance. So with that being said, take your emotion out of it, right? That is a deal that once you find out, for whatever reason, some people find out later than others. Once you find out that it is not a good deal, don't be afraid to walk away from the deal or renegotiate with the seller. Once you find out that that deal is not what you thought it was, you have to take the emotion out and you got to be able to make a logical decision. It's better to lose $500 than to lose $50, $60, $70,000, right? Lose a little bit of money on the appraisal. You didn't lose the money. It was money well spent because the appraiser showed you exactly what the house could, appraise for after you put a certain amount of money into that house, right? So once you find your due diligence and you realize it's not a good deal, you got to be able to cut ties. You got to be able to take your emotions out of it. You got to be able to cut ties and you got to be able to move on. So that's another big common mistake that people make, is they have too much emotion in these deals. Emotion will get you killed. Trust me. Now we're going to go to our fifth and final thing. So like I told you, watch this video to the end. I'm glad that you did. And this is the fifth and final thing that I want to tell you when it comes to investing, right? Fifth and final thing is, don't be afraid. Don't avoid the mistake of investing in yourself. A lot of people, don't want to put the time to learn, or they don't want to put in the money to learn from others in order to put themselves in a position to make a lot of money. People don't understand that investing a little bit of money, which may seem like a lot of money at the time that you're investing it, will make you a lot of money. For example, I am a private hard money brokerage, right? I took the time out of my life and the money to pay for a course that cost tens of thousands of dollars. I paid for that course. It was a 5-day course. I learned a lot. I built a lot of relationships. I built a lot of connections. I, built a lot of relationships with funds, with lenders, with individuals who have money, and I continue to build those relationships. But there was a point in time where I had to take the risk and bet on myself and pay for a course that cost a lot of money to me, to anybody. And I also had to take the time out of my life 5 days straight to learn and build those relationships from that course. And then I also had to implement. And then I also found one of my mentors who took that course with me, who helped me mentor my business. And at the time, those tens of thousands of dollars seems like a lot of money, but it has helped me make hundreds of thousands of dollars in a very short period of time. So I say that to say this: don't be afraid to invest in yourself financially. Don't be afraid to invest time in yourself. And do not make the mistake of not investing in yourself, not investing time, not investing in your knowledge, not investing in the time to find a mentor who you can call and who can help you in situations where it seems like things aren't working, because a very high percentage of businesses fail in the US. And one of the reasons I believe businesses fail is because they don't have the proper networks, they don't have the proper resources, they don't have the proper connections, and they don't have the proper guidance. So if you can find a way to avoid those 5 mistakes when it comes to investing in real estate, trust me, you will make hundreds of thousands, if not millions or billions of dollars, if you can just stay away from those 5 mistakes. Because there are little things that people tend to do to themselves, which I call self-sabotage, that doesn't hurt them in the short term, but it hurts them in the long term. So avoid those 5 mistakes that I told you. Little stuff like counting other people's pockets. Because if you're a borrower and you're counting my pockets, even though I showed you, I'm very transparent, you know all the numbers, and you're counting my pockets and telling me that, I need to lower my fees or anything like that, I put you on a blacklist. I don't want to work with you again. So every time you find a good deal that's difficult to get done and nobody else can get it done, and I know that I can, you're on the blacklist with me because I don't like people that do stuff like that. So in the short term, you think you got one over on me, but in the long term, we're no longer going to work with each other. What that means is you're going to lose out on millions of dollars because you can't get deals done that me and my team and my exceptions can get done, because you're crying over a couple $100, maybe a couple $1,000. So what I always tell people is, don't be afraid to put your pride to the side for the long term, right? A couple $100 should never ruin a long-term relationship, ever. And I do the same thing. I built very strong relationships, the people that I built relationships with, because I don't count their pockets. I don't tell them, well, the other fund that I work with, they're a couple $100 or they're a couple $1,000 cheaper. Why aren't you like them? You know what the fund that I'm talking to now? Well, why don't you work with that other fund? But different funds do different things. This fund might do multifamily in rural areas. This fund might not. This fund might do, extremely difficult deals that nobody else would do. So why would I burn the relationship and my connections with my different funds because I'm counting their pockets? Why would I do that? Because in the short term, it felt good. But what does that do for my business in the long term? It cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars. So trying to save a couple $100 in the short term, or a couple thousand, will cost me hundreds of dollars hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in the future. Why would I make that mistake? It's the stupidest mistake in the world. And I see that with a lot of investors. They do short-term things that cost them long-term, and they wonder why their business is always barely staying afloat. They do a couple flips here and there. They don't make any real money. They make, a $30,000 deal, a $40,000 deal, but they only do that twice a year. That's only really a $80,000 business. It's a very poor business. You know what I mean? Businesses should be making millions a year, not hundreds of thousands, right? And if you're really good and you're a really efficient, well-running business, you should be making millions a month. And that's what my team is shooting for. And we can't get there with these mistakes. Making these mistakes, and the reason I know these mistakes need to be, eliminated out of your business, is because some of those mistakes I made myself and I've learned from them. And since I learned from them and I changed the way that we do business, guess what? We're thriving each and every month, even higher and higher and higher. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing when I notice with my investors. The ones that get rid of those mistakes, their businesses start thriving. They stop counting people's pockets. They stop, nickel and diming their wholesalers and their real estate agents and their this and that and their lenders and all that stuff like that. And guess what? Their business starts thriving. You know what I mean? Avoid those 5 mistakes at all costs. And if you can do that, you will be a millionaire in this business. And with that being said, I am out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share the video who needs to hear it. Make sure you like the video, etc., etc., etc. We're here to help, and let's make stuff happen. Take care. Thank you for watching this whole video, and make sure you subscribe to Hard Money Hustle for more videos like it. Take care.